Hi guys, this is Breaker SC2 and I am back with another, I guess you could say, Hero's Guide / playthrough. This game I'm kind of playing a little bit awful, but there's one thing that I want you to stand out, or excuse me, I think there's one thing that I want you to take notice of strongly the most while I'm taking you guys through this run through of Sergeant Hammer. Alright, so that is the amount of damage that you can deal out in the entire game. Of course, damage alone isn't going to win you games, but it's just the amount of utility, the amount of takedowns that you can provide for your team, and on top of that, the amount of damage you can deal out on early game structures. Now, let's take this map for example. We are, of course, talking about... I actually forget the name of this one, but of course, it's the one with Dragon Knight. And I mean, what is there in a name? As Shakespeare once wrote in Romeo and Juliet, that which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Anyway, that's a short summarization of that quote, if you will. It's paraphrasing. Anyway, so here I am taking the objective. I guess you could say I'm putting myself in a position where the enemy can't really do too much about me, at least early on. And this is, I guess, one of the big mistakes that I learned with Sergeant Hammer early on. Mobility or lack thereof. Now I've got to find a way to get out of here, and I'm in kind of a heap of trouble at this point. I want you to take notice of the amount of damage that I was able to do on that turret in the early game, though. That was very impressive. I'm here in the bush. I don't know where at this point, I didn't know where the enemy Lily was, sort of. I was kind of... It's late at night when I was playing this. Let's put it that way. Threw down some spider mines. And of course, I did a considerable amount of chunk to Lily, but I'd say Lily is in some ways kind of a counter to the effect that Sergeant Hammer is supposed to have, and that is dealing out tons of damage. If built correctly, Lily can actually be a huge source of heals for her team, and that's usually the way I build her. But I'll probably explain that in another guide in the near future. Alright, so at this point I'm unsieged, I'm being a complete retard, and I let the enemy team kill me. I think. At least I think I was unsieged there. It's not important, so we won't go back there. The point is, I wasn't dealing enough damage to actually deal with Tychus, and that's the advantage of having Lily right next to a damage dealer like that. So let's go ahead and go with the first talent, or go over the first talent that I went with rather, and that is Advanced Artillery, doing damage to distant enemies. Now, that is another reason why I was able to do so much damage to that fort early on. So let's go ahead and double check that before I hit 5 twice to go back to my own character. At this point, of course, Lily's very low on mana, and of course, still, I guess you'd say in some ways overextending here, but of course, Tychus is here to help out, and Jaina is here to help me against Tychus. And it looks like the animations and replays are a little bit screwed up. I know I'm being a little bit narrow here by simply focusing on my character and my character alone, because we're talking about a game that has 10 heroes in it altogether, and at this point, there could be, I guess you could say, a substantial number of guides that can come from any one single replay, but this is something that's meant to help people who are going to be in solo queue, players that are going into quick match alone, or players that maybe potentially go into competitive alone, but I mean, we're talking about some extremely low level stuff, in case you guys haven't been watching the WCA qualifiers for Heroes of the Storm. Now, at this point, they've got both shrines captured. One of my spider mines got taken down, the other one does as well, so it does absolutely nothing to Tychus. I still decide to face check him, and at this point, the enemy team gets Dragon Knight number 1. At this point, I've got to rejoice with my team, recap with them, and let's just check out the amount of damage that I've done so far. Not amazing for the early game, especially when you compare me to the ranged assassin Falstad, but I'm going to come over here and try and help out with my team. And this is where I kind of excel just a little bit in some regards. We do have a takedown. As you can see, it's 5 to 5 at this point. I'm looking at, yeah, big numbers. Don't let anything else fool you. This is actually just 5 takedowns, while our team is level 6 and the enemy team is level 5. Where am I? Yeah, our team is... Okay, it's a little bit confusing, but yeah, like, it shows up. It's a little bit confusing. I think Blizzard needs to make the colors a little bit more, what's what I'm looking for, distinct on screen. And again, player animations are looking kind of buggy. Now this is one part of Sergeant Hammer that will excel. There's no presence at this moon shrine, if you will, and I'm gonna go ahead and try and face check Tychus. I get away with Tychus, but of course Melvin Chen, who I believe is Sylvanas there, takes me down. No, I'm sorry. That was... Melvin Chen was actually Nazeebo. I wasn't getting a good look just as I died. Now, believe it or not, in this situation, not in this situation in peculiar, but I tell my team whenever we go into a team fight, I want to make sure that Lily is taken out first and foremost. I don't actually say that at this moment in game, but the reason why you want to do that is because Lily provides an amazing amount of sustain to a team. At this point, I also took not only Slowing Minds, but beyond that, I took Vampiric Assault with my level 4, if I'm not mistaken, my level 5, whatever you call it. And here I am, just being a pest again to the enemy team. Lily's there, boom, able to damage both her and the tower just a little bit. But what's really nice here is if the enemy team overextends and those Widow Mines are in the bush, I might add, boom, there we go. This is where Sergeant Hammer shines, but this is just very situational. You'll see me abusing this time and again all throughout this game. The amount of damage I've done thus far, and I'm just following these guys to see, you know, do I need to unsiege and join up with them? And I can't remember, I don't think I did. I continue pushing the objective while my team is going toe-to-toe with theirs, which kind of, again, shows the strength of Sergeant Hammer as a split pusher. I've got the second most amount of damage on my team, first and foremost for hero damage. But, I mean, again, that's purely situational. It really is. Keep on laying more and more spider mines here in the bushes, and oh my god, this guy leaves just a little bit short of getting us that if you will. Spider mines coming out to deal with Lily. And then, of course, I kind of overextend here in siege mode, but I stay alive. And we got the kill on Tychus, thanks to Diablo, if I'm not mistaken. Unfortunately, here I overstay my welcome, and we do have Nazeebo taking me down. Lily comes out with a blind, and that just basically shuts down my basics, my basic attacks, my non-abilities, if you will. So again, more pings, more hey guys, get the objectives kind of thing. And right now we're kind of losing things early on in the game, even though we're, I don't know, the numbers are kind of up and down. We're about even with the enemy team in terms of all numbers, including level. We're not too terribly far behind at this point. But I do have, of course, I went with that heroic ability because nothing else was available to me. And when I say that heroic ability, I'm of course talking about Blunt Force Gun. Basically, Mr. Bullet, if you will, the Super Mario Bullet, with a very, how do I say this, prestigious smile on his face. I go into siege mode here, and it doesn't necessarily scare off the enemy team, but I'm doing a good chunk of damage to them. And that's where you can fill in for a turret for, I guess you could say in this situation, as many as 3 characters, assuming the enemy team has a standard support. Now, I'm not so sure about Napalm Strike. I'll probably check that out in the future, but of course, you guys are probably just looking at Breaker and thinking, oh my god, this guy is such a scrub. He went with basic Sergeant Hammer, and in some ways, yes, that is true, but I mean, I also want you guys to pay attention to this guide and see what I do in it. And how I use Sergeant Hammer in this regard. This is going to help out with, I guess you could say, one style of solo queue play. This is not meant to be pro or anything else like that. This is far from a pro game. Alright. And at this point, I'm able to just camp their objective a little bit. My teammates are kind of backing off here, even though it's 4 versus 2. Go ahead and throw out some spider mines, excuse me, and they connect with him. I retarget with Diablo, and I believe my teammate gets the kill there, as opposed to me. I overextend here, however, and of course I'm going to die. Turret actually gets me. I think that was actually the dislocation coming from, not dislocation, but rather, I forget the classic term in Novas that they use, but the repositioning attack that came from Diablo there. And of course, my teammates are already starting to notice that I'm getting like a little bit feedy in this regards. But at the same time, with big risk comes big rewards. At that point, maybe I should have made myself a little bit more efficient in actually taking down their fountain, as opposed to trying vainly to attack their heroes. At this point, I'd like to note one weak point of Sergeant Hammer, and that is you don't have a mount, and your methods of boosting around the map are actually quite limited. You've got a thruster that lasts for about 3 seconds or so, but at higher levels in the game, as you gain levels for your hero, you can actually select a cooldown that will help you, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically just, how do I put this? get you from place to place a little bit faster by increasing, or rather taking down your cooldown time. But I mean, 30 seconds compared to 20 seconds, and on a small map like this one, for example, not as big as, what was it, Haunted Hollows? The one where you gotta collect the tributes. If it was on that map, maybe I would consider going for the increased cooldown, or rather the reduced cooldown on my thruster. But in this situation, I don't think I would. And Jaina came in here, wouldn't say got overzealous, but definitely, wow, the amount of damage I'm about to do here is a little bit crazy, but no, actually this just flipped around on me completely. I got Tiny, and then Jaina came in, and I think finished off Tychus. If I didn't go Tiny there, it might have been a different story, but at this point they've got both shrines. We're about to lose it. If Catalog here wasn't actually at this location at this time, we'd be in a whole lot of trouble. But Jaina does get it. Lily makes the not so smart choice of trying to fight head on, which is, I mean, like, I won't debate Lily too much because, like, the thing is, I'm not sure how you would use her in higher levels of play. Let's just put it that way. Alright, so, and I'm back again after, like, my 6th death. But again, I mean, I'm leading on my team in all regards in terms of damage, both siege damage and hero damage. And this just kind of showcases a little bit the utility of Sergeant Hammer. If I were to play Sergeant Hammer on a map like, say, what is it, Blackbeard Bay or something like that? I actually, the one where you've got ships and everything, the one where you've got to pay in Dublins to get a cannon fired at your opponents. Now at this point, I made something stupid happen, and I thought that Lily was actually on our team because Lily didn't come in directly to attack me, hit me with a blind or anything like that. But Blackheart's Bay is what I was thinking of. If this was on Blackheart's Bay, I would have absolutely no idea what to do with Sergeant Hammer. Of course, I mean there's a lot of fog of war where you could just camp and hide and take down objectives from there. But I mean, again, I don't really think that's practical, if you will. And of course we got Diablo at bot lane going around T-posing. In case you guys don't know what T-posing is, it's a reference to what you would call a character, and of course Jaina's doing this now as well, T-posing, that is to say. It's a reference to how you import 3D models from 3D animation programs into games themselves, and their default pose is known as a T-pose, without animations attached to them. Just something I learned in my final year of high school in a class I took called 3D animation and game design, but the title of the class was very misleading in my opinion. It was perhaps the one year of my life I regretted the most. I try standing and to face check, of course, that Lily and Sylvanas, but it doesn't really come to light. And again, this is kind of showing that, I guess you could say, feeding side of me. I'm not contributing that much in the way of takedowns as I would, and of course this is a little bit counterproductive at the highest level. This is very counterproductive at the highest level of play to just do what I did. But luckily we've got Catalog here again saving our asses. But that was a mistake I shouldn't have made if I was playing at the pro level of play, if you will. Unfortunately, I'm just another scrub, so this is just, I guess you'd say, a suggestion of building a player. I'm not trying to sound like a pro gamer or anything else like that. Don't get the wrong idea. I've never been a pro gamer for any game title in my life. And this is... that Jaina's just getting pestered as hell right now. I'm trying to go for Dragon Knight, but of course a minion's just stopping her. Look at this. I was just like, come on, 3 of them are dead. Go for it. What are you doing? Nonetheless, we get it. That Diablo almost stopped us, and I decided to actually push with our Dragon Knight that we have at this moment. And I decided to get in front of Diablo there and W him. That's a blast that's gonna... It's a blast that will actually reduce a dislocation, if you will. There we go. And of course my ulti hits their Lily and that takes a significant chunk out of her, but I mean, she's a healer. And if you can build her, just spam heal mode, if you will. It's good. It's going to work wonders for your team, but I have a feeling that's not what they did. So again, coming back to the focus of where I am at this moment, I'm contributing a lot to this push, and with Dragon Knight in the mix, it helps out a lot. He's just been taken down, and every chance that I do... Oh, by the way, Spider Mines upgrade, I went for Minefield, which increases the number of mines, and of course, only 2 mines hit those targets, and they did a lot of damage and substantially slowed them as well. And I'm barely able to hit this fortress, I might add, so that's helping out a lot in the way of a siege. And of course, we exchanged Diablos. Exchange, if you will. That's kind of a weird term to use, but yeah. At this point, I'm not sure what I got in terms of an ulti. Right now, excuse me, I'm not sure what my cooldowns are. It's not showing up for some strange reason. Game's a little bugged. Let me try this again. No, I tried switching 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, and that didn't work out. At this point, I stole the enemy's Merc camp, and of course, this is something that kind of makes it feasible, simply based on the fact that I have Vampiric Assault. I want to go back and just highlight real quick how much that talent will heal you for. 15% of all damage. So I have a feeling like if I didn't have that, then I would probably barely be able to take that camp, if not absolutely unable to do it. And one thing I didn't notice at the time was this is actually counterproductive. This entire mercenary camp, I believe, is not able to take down the enemy team's turret at this point. But I never actually stopped to get a good look at that, because I was focused on getting our own bruiser mercs. There we go. Yeah, it's not enough. It's not enough. But it does keep their minions from going towards this one, which is kind of nice. But at the same time, I feel like, in the long run, somewhat counterproductive. So now I've gotten our own mercs, and we're just painting the map blue at this point. I believe I also soloed the bottom lane mercs as well, and again, this adds to the amount of siege damage that you do, if I'm not mistaken. I'm about to get it started. There we go with the spider mines. The reason why it's counted as siege damage is because, of course, mercs will contribute damage to the enemy team's fortresses, turrets, etc., etc., etc. So, here we are. And I'm just pushing. Enemy team is getting kind of raffle stomped by my own team. We do exchange 2 for 1 there. Not exactly paying attention to that at this moment, because right now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to highlight to you guys the 2 functions that this build of Sergeant Hammer would have. That is, of course, 1, objectives, and 2, the amount, just the overall potential amount of damage that it has, the numbers you can put out as Sergeant Hammer in this position. Now, if I'm not mistaken, pretty soon what happens here is I'm going to show you that trick I used at the beginning of this game. And we're talking about Widow Mines in the bushes, me hiding in siege mode, etc., etc. But that's not going to happen at this point. I feel like we're just toying with them at this moment in the game. But we'll find out soon enough. Of course, Widow Mines in the bushes. I can see that, I believe that's our Illidan. Kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Overextending at this point. I can peek over there. There's nothing happening with me at this moment. Yeah, I played this guy before. Or I played as this guy before. Let's put it that way. And right now, we need someone to take this. I was spamming that, if you will. Let's go back to me for a minute. Boom. Look at this. Watch this. It's going to be a little bit sick. W, all those Widow Mines. Sylvana sticks around thinking she can kill me. Of course, she comes very close to it, but Vampiric Assault keeps me alive and kills her. So, I mean, if you're going to find yourself in situations where maybe you're going to be doing a lot of objective camping, like, say, what's what I'm looking for? Cursed Hollow, not Haunted Hollow, Cursed Hollow. The one where you've got to collect essence, tributes. This might help out a little bit. I'm also trying to think of other potential combos. I feel like Sergeant Hammer mixed with Sona would be very strong. Of course, that's assuming Sona goes for Crater in the late game. But you're talking about something that can only kind of be done once and once only. Because either A, that one, I guess you could say heroic combo either works A works or B fails or C something in between where you exchange 3 for 3 or 2 for 2 and then you guys break away. And at this point, Dragon Knight just conveniently knocks Diablo in my direction. Respawns very quickly thereafter. I haven't actually played as Diablo yet, so I wouldn't know how to work things. I'm more of a support specialist / ranged assassin player, if you will. At this point, I'm just being an idiot, but I do kind of scare off Sylvanas a little bit. Go for their fountain, their healing fountain here. Do take it down, and it's like, uh-oh, why am I not leaving yet? And then Tychus activates his, God, I remember, I forget the name of that, Railgun, there we go. What I mean. I didn't even notice that 3 of my teammates were already dead, and I added to it, making it the 4th. At this point, we've kind of got, you know, I mean, if the enemy team was perhaps focused on pushing mid, we would be in a lot of trouble, but that's not the present condition of things. So at this point, we're all kind of wondering what's happening. My bullets hitting both merc camps. I don't think, yeah, I didn't know if I helped them with that or not, but this is actually, I only just now thought about this, but this is actually artificially boosting my siege damage, and it's not really helping, because what's happening is, as soon as it hits these guys, well, let's go back just a little bit. Let's go back just a little bit. Just wanted to check this.
Let us capture this
hang on. Let's check this. Okay, so my damage is at 126k. It goes to 128 with that, so I mean it's an artificial boost. That probably didn't help too much. This, in some ways, this kind of does, but at the same time, I mean, shields will kind of negate the damage that I'm doing. What I learned with this game is that Global Bullet, which is the second boost to your, I guess you'd say that bullet that flies across the map that comes out of Sergeant Hammer, it'll hit that objective time and again. But at the same time, the core itself will have shields that regenerate that are sustainable. We do have a big team fight going on here, and of course that's where I redirect my second Global Bullet, if you will, and I think that one just stops after this point. I come in here, siege up, and instead of diving in there to my inevitable doom, I'm like, okay, let's stop here and take care of these mercs, and that's exactly what I do. I think that was double merc camps they just took against us. Didn't quite help out too much. Sergeant Hammer is also very good for lane pushing as well as lane clearing if necessary. So you're about to see how that works out here, especially if you get the landmine, if you will, or landmine? Landmine? Minefield talent, if you will. Gonna go over this real quick and see what I went for. I know a lot of people are just gonna shoot me down with this, but this is meant to be a solo queue guide, if you will. If you guys were watching, again, the WCA qualifiers for Tempo Storm versus, I forget the name of that team, but it was such an amazing best of 3. It really was. It was a damn good start to, it's a damn good game to get, damn good best of 3 to get any new viewer to Heroes of the Storm hooked on the game. I thought it looked absolutely amazing, but here I am doing the same trick again. I don't think it will be necessary because Jaina's already there in mid, and at this point I think I just abandoned the Moon Shrine. I made a quick crack there. Of course, you probably didn't see it in the chat. Maybe you did, but one of them said, "Am I being too aggressive?" And I said, "That's what she said." Boom. Throw in my ulti there, and that actually did a substantial amount of damage. Very, very strong amount. At this point, I'm kind of phasing out the enemy team. They can't really dive down on our Dragon Knight too much, and in fact, if they do, it's kind of a mistake because he's already very low health. Railgun's doing so much too. And I'm throwing in my own... Why is it showing Yoda down? Oh, it is here. At any rate, I'm dead. I did my part. I threw out every ability that I could. My Q, my W, and even my R before I dove into the fight. And at this point, the game is getting closer and closer to over. But I don't think it ends here. So at this point I say, I basically want to highlight, I said, guys, target Lily. I know it sounds dumb, but she's a huge source of the team sustain, enemy team sustain. And at this point, she's kind of done her job. I don't know about, you know, I'm not sure where the blind ability comes from with Lily. I imagine it comes from her E. Something that would, some kind of a talent you would choose off of her E, but yeah. I know I said before that the shields regenerate fast enough on the core to negate any damage coming from the global bullet, and I'm about to find out that much for sure, so watch closely. As you can see, it's at 20%. Before it was at 23% before the first global bullet hit it. It's about to get hit again, and that does no damage. Shields barely regenerated in time to deal with it, but it's also because there were no minions there to do anything about it. Yeah, of course, shield is sustaining. And again, the bullet hits again, and it's still stuck at 20% with shields barely unable to regenerate. I dived straight into the middle of this, threw out my spider mines, and again, as you can see, I'm doing a huge chunk of damage. I'm sieged up, and this phases out. This forces the enemy team to make a decision at that point. It's like, okay, do I dive in and save my teammate because I'm going to be taking a lot of damage from Sergeant Hammer, or do I just keep, you know, going on about my business, minding my own business? At this point, I also want to highlight that I'm going to be maybe trying out another build with Sergeant Hammer eventually, which involves first aid, if I can ever get it activated on this character. So, yeah. Basically, you're going to be healing yourself for 35% of your own health over X amount of time. I guess it can add more sustainability to it, but I think I'd like to go back and just check what the cooldown on that is. Can't check that here. There we go. So first aid, cooldown 60 seconds. I don't know about that. It's kind of like a one-time use only thing. And I feel like if you really need that, you might be in a lot of trouble. Then again, if you're close to a healing fountain, like this should be like early game stuff. I don't know. It's difficult to gauge when you would need first aid and when you wouldn't, obviously. But I mean, it's always nice to have that extra heal. It might be considered in some cases overkill when accompanied by Vampiric Assault, but it's highly situational. I decided to go with the build that I did. Let's go ahead and get a quick recap on that. Advanced Artillery, of course. That means increasing damage to enemy targets that are, how do I say this? Like, long distance. If it's like maximum attack radius in your siege mode, you're going to do extra damage to 10%, or by 10%. I believe that actually changes with the objectives that you attack as well, but okay, there we go. Basic attacks, here we go. 20% more damage to distant enemies from artillery mode. Advanced Artillery, it's going to increase it by an extra 10%, and then First Strike, basic attack will deal 25% more damage if I haven't been damaged for 5 seconds. So that gives the enemy team just a little bit more incentive to actually attack me a little bit more. In other words, you're going to become a glass cannon in some regards, but even that is a little bit debatable. So guys, I hope this video tutorial has been helpful to you all. But before we go, let's go ahead and get a quick recap on everything that I went with and why. Okay, so I went with our Advanced Artillery because I wanted more damage output, Vampiric Assault for sustain, keeping myself alive a little bit longer in lane, things like that. Slowing Mines, of course, that is going to reduce your opponent's movement speed just a little bit more. I didn't go with this because I didn't think I would be needing it. Like, I felt like if the enemy team had Illidan, maybe it would warrant it. Again, if we were on a bigger map, maybe it would warrant it, that kind of thing. Blunt Force Gun, of course, I went with it not only because it's the only ability that I had, but I saw others using it as well. Maybe I'll consider taking Napalm Stripe in the future. 440 on impact, additionally deals 130 damage per second, lasts for 4 seconds. I think this is some kind of a radius-based attack. I would definitely take this if I didn't have Blunt Force Gun, or if I had the level to take it anyway. Basic attacks, First Strike, yeah, I went with that. Just explained it to you guys. And of course, I went with Minefield because this coupled with, I mean, if you got 2 stacked Minefields, in addition to that, you have Vampiric Assault, you're talking about getting healed for a buttload, if you will. Orbital BFG, just because it was there to supplement BFG, and of course, maybe keep their, you know, how do I say this? Kick their nexus, kick their core while it was down, if you will. So guys, that does it for now. My name is BreakerSC2. I'll see you guys next time.